love storytelling. I mean, you've been to my discussions, and I love to tell a good story. And it's, for me, economics is an ultimate story. It tells people why they behave the way we do. Why do we think the way we do, and why do we act the way we do? Can I give you one of my favorite stories of the past year?
Go ahead. Yeah.
So, I mean, we're all worried about AI, right? I mean, we're all worried about AI as the great job destroyer. I think the chief technology of Microsoft, I think it was, said recently that in 18 months from now, all corporate roles are going to be automated. AI is going to do that.
All corporate roles.
Yeah. AI is going to, the sort of...
It's not true.
Yeah. The white collar jobs will be eliminated largely. If we go back to 1775, so about 250 years ago, there was a device called the mechanical Turk. I don't know if you've heard about it. It was a mechatronic Turkish man at the time, so a puppet, broadly, and this puppet could play chess. It would sit down, you would sit opposite it, and it would play chess against you and win. And people could not believe it, because it was this wooden being that was somehow winning chess matches against you. There's no one behind it. And so it was believed that this was this amazing robotic being that could somehow think for itself. Of course, a year later or so, it was discovered that someone was sitting under the mechanical Turk and controlling him. Of course, fast forward to today, and we have Builder.ai, Microsoft-backed AI software. It was viewed as the next big thing. It was soon discovered that software engineers were behind the scenes, pulling the levers in the same way. So for those who are worried, my advice is, if you're worried about tech, you don't. It usually just takes about 250 years to repeat itself.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Off the Clock.
How do you deal with stress? How do you handle that?
Coping mechanisms that I have is I go for a run.
Manage stress by obviously being moments like this. Directly saying I'm going off the clock.
Just even a night out.
I'm listening to my favorite music. I go into one of the studios at the gym and I dance.
Some cocktails and rest and just do nothing.
I ground myself spiritually.
The right amount of stress is good.
All right, welcome in, everybody. Welcome back. We're back at Off the Clock. Today's interview, we are here with a special guest, Sam Rolland. Sam, to be frank, when my dad told me we were interviewing the head of the Sub-Saharan Africa, I thought we were going to be interviewing an old wise man, but to my surprise, you walked in the door and you were able to speak about games with me, and I was like, do we have the right guy here? Like, usually my dad, the guys my dad invites are very, I don't know, like him, I guess. So welcome to Off the Clock. We're happy to have you. I'm also very surprised and happy to have you.
Okay.
What we do here is we allow our guests to introduce themselves, because no one knows yourself better than you. So the floor's yours.
Sure. I mean, I guess, thanks for having me. And I guess I'm glad you think I look young. I sometimes don't always feel like that. And, if I am, I clearly am doing something right. Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I mean, I'm a big fan of the show, and I've always wanted to be on the show, and I think I dropped a hint to Peter the other day. I wasn't sure if he'd take it, but it seems he has, so here we are. I guess, professionally, I'm an economist by training. I've gone through government, I've gone through private sector, been through the dark days of state capture, and then ended up at The Economist, and been very fortunate enough to be here for a number of years and get to speak to really interesting people such as yourselves, and have chats with some of the most interesting people, I think, in the country. Personally, dad of two, just became a new dad last year for my second, and that keeps me up at night, both stress and just staying awake. So if I slur today, it's because of a lack of sleep. I like to run. I'm a runner when I get chances to. I like music. I enjoy games. I enjoy pop culture. So this is where I think we've connected now.
Yeah, I think so too.
Cool. I mean, Sam, again, from me, thank you very much for being here. You analyze the world for a living.
Yeah.
Obviously, what worries you that maybe some of us may not be paying attention to about the world, about the work that you do?
I mean, I guess first thing as an economist, I'm in a lucky position that I get to deliver both good and bad news, and people like me regardless. I can say bad things and everyone says, "Oh, excellent. I'm so glad you told us that," even though it's really tough news. Sheesh, Peter, I mean, it's a tough question, and where do I start? I mean, what do I think about that no one else is really thinking about is, I guess locally, firstly, I think as a country, we forget sometimes when we have good news like we did with budget the day before, we forget that we have a lot of challenges in the country, and we can't just go around patting ourselves in the back as we solve things. We need to sort of take a harder look at how we fix our problems together. If we don't, I don't think there's much of a hope down the line for your grandchildren, for my children, eventually my grandchildren. Globally, I think we sometimes have forgotten how we sort of got here from a manufacturing, from a growth story, and we realized that maybe the things that we thought would work, back in the day are actually endangering us or imperiling us. Would you like an example?
Yeah, give me some examples.
I mean,
you're very high level, man.
This is something that is probably the nerd in me comes out on. But if we go back to, years, this is decades, this is the early 20s. So we're probably looking 100 years now. We go back and we think of, how we started to become the age of consumers that we are, how people started to afford luxury goods like dishwashers, like washing machines, microwaves. Remember, about 100 years ago, this wasn't a thing we all took for granted, right? I mean, I don't think when I go and heat up my lunch after a meeting, when I'm sitting at home in the microwave, but 100 years ago, that wasn't a thing. And we chased consumerism. We chased, the middle class dream. We chased building bigger and better. Everyone had to have a car, then 2 cars, then a microwave and a dishwasher, washing machine. And somewhere along the way, I think
sliced bread.
Sliced bread, exactly.
Don't forget the swimming
Who
pool.
in the family is a fan of sliced bread?
Swimming pools have been there, just much more deeper.
Yeah.
2 meters down.
Exactly. And what I'm trying to get is to say, we sort of chased new tech, we chased cheaper ways of doing things. We, created things like plastics, and we used them in everything because they were cheap. And we thought, what could go wrong? They don't break. They can hold everything. They can take more or less heat. They can take cold. And we forgot this sort of problem we create. Now we're sitting with mountains of plastic everywhere you drive. You drive along the highway, you see plastic everywhere. You go into remote parts of the ocean and you're going to find plastics. Those are the ones we can see, and of course there are lots we can't see. I worry that we sometimes do without thinking where we're going to end up.
A couple of weeks ago, you invited me to as a panelist to your Africa Outlook event, which I enjoyed very much. And
Glad.
Thank you. So if you were to summarize the economic world in one word, one sentence, what would you say?
What, in this day and age?
Yeah, today.
In one word.
Or one sentence.
I mean, I think it's completely different. It's completely different. Sorry, I know we said one word, but one sentence. What I learned as an economist growing up is it was a certain way. We traded, we partnered, we opened up, and we all got wealthier. That's true. But we found a situation now where that's not the way that people are arguing, or the way people are thinking. If we think of the US, they're taking a different approach. And now we need to start thinking, what now? If you've been trained in one way and you've learned a certain way and suddenly life's different, we always expect that the person opposite us is rational and logical, right? This is why we pull away from stop streets when it's our turn, because we think that the people around us are logical enough to know it's our turn. But if we're dealing with illogical and irrational people, well, all bets are off.
I'm going to ask this question, and maybe we get a more personal. Maybe Tats, you can chip in. Is if you were to rank top 5 countries in Africa, not according to GDP, but according to better prospects for next 10 years.
Yeah.
what would that list look like without obviously mentioning Nigeria and South Africa, because those are numbers, but just in terms of prospects for growth next 5 years.
Sure. I mean, I think I'm optimistic on the continent as a whole. I know you are as well. I maybe this is a good time to bring the story in. I love thinking about this when I think about opportunity in Africa. A couple of years ago, some researchers from the US, I think it was Yale, one of the Ivy Leagues, did a study, and if you'll probably know this better than me, you know, the what it takes to bring goods from the farm, cabbage, watermelon, flowers, whatever it might be, to the market in places like Nairobi and Mombasa, requires a lot of middlemen to get them from the farm gate to the market, which eventually they get, or ports. So these researchers did a study. They said, let us give a subsidy, and I think it was about $100. Let's use this example. And the idea is to say, how much of that gets eaten up by middlemen? The idea is that you start with $100 at the farm gate. A watermelon, a cabbage should be $100 cheaper. And they by the time it reaches the market or the port, how is that still $100 cheaper, that watermelon you've bought? They realized by the time it reached its end goal that $100 had been reduced to $20, which suggests that $80 has disappeared along the way and eaten up by middlemen. Where else in the world are you going to find margins like this to do business in? I mean, yeah, it's challenging, but you know, we operate in a world where margins are hard to come by in the digital age. If you're trying to eat into $80 worth on a unit, I mean, that's huge. Anyway, so back to your question. Sorry, I realize I didn't answer. I mean, look, I think, you know, where I'm most optimistic is probably the most established markets. You know, it's Kenya, it's Nigeria, it's probably Morocco, it's South Africa, because, you know, business. Four. Do I need to give another one?
Yeah.
Let's give Egypt, because I think Egypt's been really aggressive. I mean, there was a story that it ate up, like, I think it accounted for over 70% of FDI, foreign direct investment, last year or the year before. It was huge. They're making significant strides. We need to remember that business looks for opportunity where it is the easiest to set up shop. And it is still a massive challenge to set up shop in many parts of Africa. Infrastructure is not there. You know, the things that make sustainable business, at least in the short term, are absent. And so, you know, until someone comes along and goes with a long-term mentality, that we can then look at a Uganda, a Cameroon, for example, which are probably your next tier of Tanzania, of countries. Yeah, people are going to go where capital flows the easiest and where it's easiest to do business.
I'm sure you've been asked this already, because as an economist, we just had the budget speech.
We did, yeah.
A few days ago. What were your two key positive takeaways from it, and two key negative takeaways from it?
I mean, I think we mustn't discount how difficult a job Treasury and government had in right-sizing our finances at a time when everyone else is doing the opposite. I mean, if you look in Germany, they're raising what they call the debt brake. It's a constitutionally mandated rule that they can't borrow more than a certain amount. Mm-hmm. That's, you know, constraining their economy severely. The UK, France, also trying to find ways to, you know, sort of manage their high and unsustainable debt. We've managed to bring it under control. I wouldn't claim a victory lap yet, but I mean, that's phenomenal in the day and age we find ourselves in, just after COVID. I mean, we're 5 years out? Yeah. If we can think back to those odd days.
It was tough.
It was tough, and it was a funny time, wasn't it? And then we ran into the buzzsaw that is Donald Trump and his trade wars. I mean, it's phenomenal that we were able to stick to our guns and do that. I think it took a lot of effort, and I think that really puts us in a good position. I think it's also what you're looking for another positive from this.
Yeah.
I think we came out of this in the right way. We didn't just say, oh, we got lucky with the price of gold allowing us to bring in more revenue, and so we can, keep on spending like there's no tomorrow. We actually said we're earning more from gold and other commodities. We're not going to spend. We're actually going to keep our money in the bank, and we're going to ask the private sector to come on board at a greater stage. I think that shouldn't be discounted, because it talks to a fundamental change that we made from the days where that government expects to do everything. Government wants to be your wants to handle your packages. If you want to deliver something, it must be through the post office, and if you want healthcare, it has to be through NHI. I'm impressed that we were able to do that, and I think it's given us a good platform to accelerate into the next decade. Question was, what was I disappointed by?
Yeah, what do
I worry about?
Yes, the negatives.
I mean, we can't ignore that we have 30+% unemployment. We have youth employment that they say is bordering on, what was it, 40 or 60%? When I look at unemployment, I don't just look at the numbers. I think 31 is not the right number. You look at what they call the expanded definition. You look at people who have given up looking for work. And if you do that, according to some provinces in places like the Northwest, and I think Limpopo, the Eastern Cape's the other one, there are more people out of work than there are that have jobs in that province. How is that sustainable? And my worry is we have a July 2021 over again in the next 5 years if we don't get better at fixing our problems, and that then derails our whole story. Okay. So that's something I worry about, and I worry that the budget was great, but my worry is that if we don't keep up on our momentum, if we don't hold ourselves and each other to account, we're going to run into challenges. Sorry if that sounded negative.
No, it is negative, and it's okay. Earlier, Sam, you mentioned that you need to go fetch the kids from school.
Yeah.
Meaning you're married with kids, you got a mortgage, and you're paying cars and all that. But how did you meet your wife?
I like the story. I hope you do too. So we were at university. We were both at the University of Stellenbosch. Very fortunate enough that I was able to go down to Stellenbosch for university. I'm a Joburg boy, born and raised, grew up, in Bryanston.
Good place.
It was nice, before the potholes and the lack of water.
Especially the lack of water.
Especially the lack of water. So we met at Stellenbosch, and I was getting to the end of my university career and looking around where to go. And I thought, I'm probably got one more year left. And I should probably start doing something with my varsity career to sort of make myself attractive to employers, to the bosses like yourself, Peter. They don't want to see an average student, who's done nothing at university. So we had a student council, a student representative committee that for our faculty. This was economics and management sciences. And I thought, geez, maybe this is a good way to sort of give my CV some meat on the bone, that I stand out instead of every other person who's done economics. So I applied, and my wife was on the committee at the time. Didn't know. I mean, we had never met.
Where did you apply?
To this committee, to the student committee, the student faculty committee. Yeah. So I applied. Didn't we hadn't met yet. We didn't know each other, and obviously your fellow students got to vote. I campaigned like crazy. I didn't know that was a thing you weren't supposed to do, but I did, and so won the majority vote. But it later came out that she was going through the votes, and she knew some of the other candidates, and she thought, I don't know if I want this English guy. This was still a very Afrikaans university at the time. I don't know if I want this English guy on the committee.
Did she call you a Soti?
She has in the past, and so she was gonna, bury some votes and make it that I didn't make it onto the committee. And if it wasn't for my mother-in-law, who said do the right thing, she probably wouldn't have met me. I would have not made the committee. I would have gone on to do something else. And so, because she was ethical, but at least someone held her to higher ethical standards, we got onto the committee, we met, and yeah, I mean, it's been about 15 years now, 16 years this year since we first met.
Wow.
Yeah.
So she relayed that part of the story to you, or it was your mother-in-law?
She told me.
Okay.
She told me she nearly tanked the vote, Donald Trump style. And luckily there was some voices on her shoulder that told her to do the right thing.
So, I mean, with all that in mind, how's your relationship with your mother-in-law today?
Can we edit that out? No, it's good. It's good. It's something I'm grateful for, because I think it's not something that everyone is lucky enough to have grandparents who care. They live by the coast, so we can take the kids there on holidays, and they get to have a cool holiday with the grandparents, which they love. I'm grateful for that, because I know there are a lot, and especially friends of mine that live overseas don't have that. My parents recently moved down to the coast, so we don't have grandparents in the area. So,
oh wow,
to your sister, she should cherish that.
I don't think they're moving to the coast anytime.
Okay, not the semi-migration route that so many have done.
I mean, you mentioned earlier that your quality of sleep just deteriorated because of the age of your kids.
Yeah.
How many hard hours of sleep do you do, excluding the waking up 10 times?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, as a dad of two young ones, sleep does feel hard. So the hard hours are actually just all the hours of the night. But I would say probably I aim to get to bed at 9-ish. I'm not always successful, especially if there's sport on, or some show I'm binging, which is not a great habit. But try to get in bed by 9. And then try and get up at 6, and then the roller coaster starts. You don't know how many times you're going to be waking up until between then.
Yeah, sound familiar.
I wish it were more, and I wish I could control the bad habits to really maximize the sleep, but it's not always easy.
Do you play sports, golf, run, cycle?
I'm a runner. I try to run. I try to run as much as I can. You'd think I'm running away from my problems, but I'm not. It's the opposite. No, I used to. I'm a former comrades runner, so done 2 in my career so far. I'm looking to get back on that.
Did you finish?
I'll tell you something that not many people know. I've attempted 3 and I've finished 2. My first one, I decided it would be smart to get married, change houses, and change jobs in that year, in the same leading up to comrades. Unfortunately, my training suffered. I didn't finish, and I think, from a maturity perspective, I think I just wasn't mentally there to take it on. So finished 2, I went back and got my revenge 2 years later, consecutively. Time-wise, time is something that I find is a luxury for me at the moment. Something I wish I want to have more of. So I try and run when I can. I try and get out on the road when I can. I like golf. Golf doesn't like me. So it's something I'm hoping to do and get better at the next couple of years.
Earlier, we spoke about, you mentioned the legends like Elon Musk, Bill Gates.
Yeah.
There's guys who don't sleep, who I think I've got a longevity challenge.
Yeah.
I don't think those guys are my example of work-life balance.
Absolutely.
Elon Musk was also seen to be sleeping in the office in a bunker or and taking drugs and all that. Those examples are wrong. It's probably his level of intelligence is off the chart, but it's not something that I want to encourage my children to try that stuff.
Exactly.
You have to, for health span and lifespan, I think if you opting for a health span to live until 80 strong, and you can still play with grandchildren and can still play your sport at that time, you need to be able to keep the balance. Your sport, if you run, golf, cycle, like you, not just work all the time and do crazy things. That's what I've seen firsthand works, and to a certain extent works for me. I started a little bit late initially I used to be on the club of people who wear lack of sleep as a badge of honor.
Yeah.
I haven't been sleeping. I remember when I was doing my MBA, I was sleeping like 4 hours, and the MBA doesn't run away. You just need to plan better. But
Yeah.
having a demanding middle management job, trying to prove yourself that you're the next MD, if you're not coached well, you can make mistakes.
Yeah.
And kill yourself.
No, exactly. And I think, we're also working later. I mean, back in the day, 60, 65, you didn't continue on working. You stopped working, and that was what you entered your next phase, retirement. I'll give you, my dad is 78 this year and still working.
But isn't that due to
working for fun?
Yeah.
It is possibly, yeah. No, I think he probably would go crazy if he stopped working.
Yeah.
But, gone are the days when you're expected to sort of close up shop at 65. Many carry on. Many start new jobs, start new careers, their own gigs past 65. So we've got to fit ourselves. I'm not saying that, when we talk about work-life balance, I'm not saying that we must all do that, but many find joy in their career and find energy, and you've got to be able to get your body to that space and your mind to that space.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I mean, when we spoke about Elon Musk, I remember about 5 years ago, I mean, as part of my job, I'm on LinkedIn a lot, and you sort of started to see these posts pop up. I mean, now AI does everything. So I don't know. I question how much is original on LinkedIn, but there are all these posts popping up of like
My stuff, it's original.
Yes, of course. No, I can see you don't have the M dash and the other AI clues. But you saw these posts, and it was like the 5 books Elon Musk reads, and everyone was saying, "Oh, we need to read the 5 a.m. Club. We need to read Leaders Eat Last. We need to read,
That just sounds like a good marketing ploy.
This is it exactly. But and we all thought, if Elon reads those, well, we should all do that, because that's how, if Elon's doing it to be successful, we should do that to be successful. And you don't see that anymore, which makes me think that, the age of the glorification of, the sort of burnout, wearing a lack of sleep as a badge of honor, first in the office at 5 a.m. and last out at 10 p.m., I don't think has the same sort of pull as it used to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's fading off with the younger generation.
Yeah.
People want more fun, want more balance.
Yeah.
And try to provide that balance and get it going. We interviewed a doctor, medical doctor specialist, a CEO, and also a chairman of the board, very prolific guy, who was talking exactly about the transition from the time when the cell phones came in companies, where they were giving you a cell phone, and some of the employees resigned and saying, when I used to leave Free State and go to a meeting in Pretoria, nobody's reaching out to me. I go to the meeting and come back. And also it talks to partners. I mean, our parents used to go to work early in the morning and never talk to my mother. They never talk to each other. They'll see each other when they come back. Yeah. But I don't know how many times you talk to your wife a day. And she reprimands you and reminds you and encourages you and praise you and complain and all that. So just a different time. Maybe the quality of life was good because that freedom of the known, as opposed to things changing all the time. Even if somebody would die suddenly, you'll know when you come back. Nobody's gonna interrupt your work in the forest or wherever you.
There's a story, and I think it was, when was Theodore Roosevelt's presidential term?
Wasn't this a while ago?
I mean, it was. So I think it's probably late 1800s. Theodore Roosevelt becomes president. Back then, he would go to Yellowstone National Park for like a month, just disappear as president. He would just go off on as a break, and no one could contact him, because back then you didn't have cell phones, you didn't have mail really. You could go and try find him, but no one knew where he was. And I'm sure many business leaders that these days, wish they could have a day where, or a week where no one sort of comes looking for them. I know I developed a bad habit. I'm trying to kick it. Is I have an office phone. I have my personal phone. My first good habit I developed was splitting the two so that I don't carry one phone that I get my office emails on weekends. But I didn't turn it off after hours. 5 o'clock, I would put my phone down on the table in the dining room or the kitchen, and I would just leave it there. And my bad habit was I would walk through to go to bed at night or, get ready for bed. And I'd see my phone. I think, just look at it quickly. And I'd look and there'd be an email, and sometimes it would be bad news. And suddenly I'm now going to bed.
Your mood.
I'm now going, geez, in the morning, I'm going to have to deal with a hellstorm, coming.
Yeah.
Could have looked at it in the morning, could have woken up at 6. I could have checked that mail at 7 because I didn't have to do anything. But immediately, I spent the night worrying. And I think that's something that I wish I was better at switching off. I think we can all probably take a bit of lesson from that.
Yeah.
Deferring it to your future self.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let future Sam
Deal with this,
use his infinite wisdom to
his
figure it
problem.
out. Exactly.
Back to economics. South Africa, you spoke about good budget speech, good prospects, things coming to us. The rand is strong. I think the rand will continue to be strong. But if you had a magic wand for South Africa, what are the 2-3 things that you will change? I'm sure it's going to say you solve unemployment.
It's not as simple as that. I think
But
if
I'm
we
sa-
could all... Sorry,
No,
go
but
ahead.
I said magic wand.
If I had a magic wand...
Yeah, magic.
Or a genie in a bottle grants you a wish.
Do you know what it is? And this is so as part of my day job, and this is one of the more fun parts. The job is fun, obviously. I hope people in The Economist are watching this. The job is lots of fun, but one of the more fun things I get to do is I get to present to our global network on various leadership issues. And one of the things I do is country culture. Why do countries act like the way they do? Why can we do business? Why do we have to think differently if we do business in Kenya versus South Africa or Kenya versus Nigeria? We're on one continent. Many globally think it's one Africa. It's not. It's a massive grouping of different countries with very different cultures. And one of the things that I think about a lot is, I believe our path to success is shifting our culture and making ourselves accountable in South Africa. And I know we're all, especially those of us who own a car, who own a fairly decent house, are guilty of is, you're sitting at a robot late at night and you think, I'm just going to jump the red because I don't want to sit around. Or, it's a Sunday morning.
Or it's not safe to do so.
Yeah, I'm running late, or it's not safe. I'm going to jump the traffic light, or I'm not going to stop at the stop street. That's where it starts. And then it's, I had to get home from, to fetch my kids. I sped a bit too fast. I got pulled over. Jeez, if only there was a way to sort of just expedite the process. I think as South Africans, and this is a cultural thing that takes a lot longer to solve, is how do we build accountability for ourselves? Because I think then we start to sort of have that moral conscience that prevents us from engaging in...
This is such a good point. Until you've traveled and seen how culture of compliance and also respecting the law and just doing what is right happens. I remember there was a time I was traveling to Germany quite a bit and see how German culture is to say, you respect the law. You come on time, you pay the lights, you don't speed, you do all kinds of things. And I also was traveling to Germany when they were starting to kill off most highways didn't have a speed limit. So you could those Porsches and BMWs, you could drive them hard on the highway. Then they realized they needed to keep the speed and started putting the cameras inside or those overhead signs.
Yes.
And they put them niftily with kind of a German precision and ways. And cameras are starting to hit people on the highways that have a speed limit. But even then, on those highway where they're saying, you pass left and keep right type of a thing, and people were sticking to that.
Yeah.
Because the cars that were like going fast were going fast. There was nobody who like decided to go slow on a fast lane, which you see it often here where people are just so ignorant. Or,
you go straight in a turning lane, something like, or in an emergency lane.
Which is a bit of a disaster thing.
Why economics? What made you choose that? What was the inspiration?
Yeah. I mean, would you like the romantic version or the realistic version?
Give us a
Can I do both?
Or political version.
Okay. I mean, let's do the realistic, and I'll tell you the romantic version. So realistically, I as I said, I was at Stellenbosch University. I am, like many students my age, my time at the time, I got to university. It was a fantastic place. There were suddenly things like wine farms that I could go and visit, and friends to go and socialize. No parents around me, so I wasn't the most studious of students at the time. I didn't take academics very seriously, and then so I bounced around for a few subjects, and I wanted to do transport economics. I wanted to do investment management, and then suddenly midway through one of the years, I just remember thinking, "This economics is cool. Like it's interesting, and I'm actually quite good at it." So I stuck with it, and I found it just really caught my interest, and I was good at it, which I hadn't been about investment management. And so I stuck with it, and I was very lucky to get myself here. I mean, from the romantic perspective, I think I love stories. I love storytelling. I mean, you've been to my discussions, and I love to tell a good story. And it's, for me, economics is an ultimate story. It tells people why they behave the way we do. Why do we think the way we do, and why do we act the way we do? I mean, we always, as I said, when we're talking about today's day and age, we always said that we all think we're logical. We all think we're rational. This is why you don't expect someone to jump a robot, because you expect they're going to follow the rules like you do. Or, but actually, we now start to think, how do we behave? Why are we behaving differently? How are the incentives mattering? And that for me is the cool part. You get to tell the different stories, and you can often go back very far to find out where we are today. I know we're running out of time. Can I give you one of my favorite stories of the past year?
Go ahead. Yeah.
So, I mean, we're all worried about AI, right? I mean, we're all worried about AI as the great job destroyer. I think the chief technology officer of Microsoft, I think it was, said recently that in 18 months from now, all corporate roles are going to be automated. AI is going to do that.
All corporate roles.
Yeah. AI is going to, the sort of...
It's not true.
Yeah. The white collar jobs will be eliminated largely. And obviously that sparks alarm bells with many people, but that are already worrying that AI will take their job. And if we want to know this sort of story about AI, and one of the things I think about is, if we go back to 1775, so about 250 years ago, there was a device called the Mechanical Turk. I don't know if you've heard about it. It was a mechatronic Turkish man at the time, so a puppet broadly, and this puppet could play chess. It would sit down, you would sit opposite it, and it would play chess against you and win. And people could not believe it, because it was this wooden being that was somehow winning chess matches against you. There's no one behind it. And so it was believed that this was this amazing robotic being that could somehow think for itself. Of course, a year later or so, it was discovered that someone was sitting under the Mechanical Turk and controlling him. Of course, fast forward to today, and we have Builder.ai, Microsoft-backed AI software. It was viewed as the next big thing. It was soon discovered that software engineers were behind the scenes, pulling the levers in the same way. So for those who are worried, my advice is, if you're worried about tech, you don't. It usually just takes about 250 years to repeat itself.
Okay. That's the moral.
That's my story for the day.
Sam, do you have any questions for us? I think that's the moment for revenge for you to us.
Oh gosh, I mean, so I guess let's see if I can probe my toughest question. I mean, what do you disagree on when you're doing a podcast like this between the two of you?
Be more specific.
What do you think Peter could do better at than he currently does?
I don't think, I think it's just more of the little things and not more of the grandiose, like big things. And I think we all have to do better within the little things. I think also the podcast is also still, we've been doing this for what, 2 years now?
2 years, yeah. Over
Yeah,
2 years.
so
Yeah.
I don't want to say we're new. We've been doing this for 2 years now, but we're still very young in the game. So we're still also learning.
Okay.
It's a learning process for the both of us. So I don't think there's something like big I could say that you need to be better at this, that.
Yeah.
But because it's the little things that we need to be more consistent with and, just keep building it up.
Let me soften the next one question. Let me soften the next one for you, Peter, because I know I expect to see you more around these days. So I don't want you to avoid me, ignore me. Yeah. How special has it been to be able to do a project like this with the family?
Very special for me. I think my children are at the age where they could be out of the house. My daughter's actually gone out of the house, and he's still staying with us. So it's keeping us together. In a way that we continue to agree to disagree and see things differently, which is very healthy. And I feel very lucky to have moments like this where we continue to connect in the most business-like and constructive way, which if it wasn't this, the glue will be gone. And I don't know, maybe this very moment it could be having beer with friends and talking a lot of not so great things.
Exactly.
So
I like
that's,
that. I think don't let that go. I think that's a cool experience.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Sam.
Thanks, guys.
And appreciate it. I know you have to be somewhere.
Yeah. I wish I had more time to chat. I really enjoyed this, but thank you for hosting me, guys.
We'll probably have you back again sometime.
Okay. Well, this was good fun. I'm keen to talk on anything. So.